The phone's harsh ring jolted me from feverish sleep. 2:38 a.m. My thermometer had read 102 degrees earlier that evening. COVID had ravaged my body for days, leaving me barely able to breathe without coughing. The room spun as I fumbled for my phone. Hello? My voice cracked, throat feeling like sandpaper. Leonora. My boss Genevieve's voice sliced through the line with surgical precision. No concern for my health. No preamble. You're fired. Your projects and office space are reassigned. Goodbye. The words should have devastated me. 3 years of dedication, countless all-nighters, innovative campaigns that transformed the company, all discarded in a middle-of-the-night call while I was battling an illness that had killed millions. But instead, a strange calm washed over me. Okay, I replied simply. A pause. What do you mean, okay? Confusion had replaced her confident tone. I couldn't help it, I laughed. A genuine, hearty laugh that triggered a coughing fit. What's so funny? She demanded. Through labored breathing, I managed to respond. Nothing, Genevieve. You just don't realize what you've done. Are you threatening me? Her voice pitched higher. Not at all, just observing. Goodbye, Genevieve. I hung up, still smiling despite my fever. The projects she'd just claimed, the ones she thought would advance her career, were actually elaborate traps she had unwittingly set for herself. And she had just stepped right into them. If you've ever been blindsided by betrayal, you know that hollow feeling in your chest. That moment when someone you trusted reveals their true colors. Stay with me as this story unfolds. I promise the ending will be worth every minute of your time. If you're enjoying these true stories of justice served, take a second to like and subscribe so you never miss our next upload. My name is Leonora Devereaux. Before that nighttime call, I was the associate creative director at one of the top marketing firms in the country. I had built a reputation for developing unconventional campaigns that connected with audiences on a visceral level. My work had won awards and brought in millions for our clients. What I lacked in corporate politics skills, I made up for with raw creative talent. Let me take you back to how it all began. 3 years earlier, I'd arrived at the firm fresh from a smaller agency, buzzing with ideas and the drive to make them reality. Genevieve Weston had personally recruited me, gushing about my portfolio and promising I'd have creative freedom to push boundaries. Your campaigns speak to people in ways others can't achieve, she told me during our first meeting. That's what we need here. For the first 6 months, she was my biggest cheerleader. She'd showcase my concepts to clients, nodding enthusiastically as I explained my vision. The leadership team seemed impressed, and I felt I'd found my professional home. Then came the Ashton account, a struggling luxury watch brand needing reinvention. I developed a campaign focusing on time as a witness to life's most intimate moments rather than a status symbol. It was risky, emotional, and nothing like their previous marketing. The campaign launched. Sales increased by 42% in the first quarter. The industry took notice. Award nominations rolled in. That's when I first noticed the shift. During the celebration dinner, our CEO raised a glass to Genevieve's brilliant vision for Ashton. She stood, basking in applause. When I conceived this approach, I knew it would resonate with a younger demographic. I sat stunned, my congratulatory smile freezing on my face. Not once did she mention my name or contribution. Later that night, I confronted her outside the restaurant. I worked around the clock on that campaign, Genevieve. You didn't even acknowledge me. She adjusted her coat, not meeting my eyes. Don't be so sensitive, Leonora. This is how business works. We're a team. The important thing is the company succeeds. A team where you take all the credit? Her expression hardened. You're still new here. I've spent 15 years building my reputation. When you reach my level, you'll understand how this game is played. I should have left then, but the work challenged me. The pay was good, and the health insurance covered my mother's experimental cancer treatments. Without it, she'd have no options left. So I stayed, telling myself things would improve. They didn't. The pattern became clear. I'd develop strategies and concepts. Then Genevieve would mysteriously need a quick review just before presentations. She'd walk into meetings with my work, making tiny modifications and presenting it as her collaborative vision. Client success? Genevieve's strategic genius. Campaign failures? Leonora's execution missed the mark. My salary remained frozen while hers grew with each success. My success. Promotions that should have been mine went to others who played her political games better. Meanwhile, my ideas continued generating millions. I documented everything. Every email, every meeting, every concept. Not for revenge, just protection. Or so I told myself. Then came the breaking point. 12 months ago, our largest client threatened to leave unless we delivered revolutionary work. Genevieve called me into her office. "We need something no one's done before," she said, tension visible around her eyes. "The CEO specifically asked for you to lead this." I felt a flicker of vindication. Finally, recognition. "But," she continued, "I'll need to closely supervise. The stakes are too high for experiments." Translation: I would do the work. She would take the credit. I developed a campaign that broke every convention in the industry. It was personal, almost uncomfortably intimate, yet universal. The client loved it. Sales skyrocketed beyond projections. At the industry awards, Genevieve stood on stage accepting the top honor. "I've always believed in taking risks," she said, clutching the trophy. "This campaign represents everything I've worked toward in my career." My name appeared in small print on a slide that flashed for 3 seconds. That night, something shifted inside me. I wasn't going to leave. That would be too easy for her. I wasn't going to complain. That would paint me as difficult. Instead, I decided to play a longer game. I began speaking up more in meetings, ensuring others heard my ideas firsthand. I built relationships with clients directly. I found ways to sign my work that couldn't be erased. Hidden creative elements that carried my signature-style clients began to recognize. Genevieve noticed. Her methods became more aggressive. 6 months ago, she assigned me 3 enormous client projects simultaneously, each with impossible deadlines. The message was clear: fail and prove you're not essential. Succeed and work yourself to exhaustion while she collected the praise. I accepted the challenge without complaint. What she didn't know was that I'd been preparing for this moment. I poured everything into these projects, creating strategies that broke new ground. The clients were thrilled with the preliminary presentations. The plans were innovative, forward-thinking, and, if implemented exactly as written, subtly problematic. That's when I recognized her true game. These weren't just tough assignments. They were calculated snares. The strategies, if executed as she demanded, would skirt industry regulations in ways that wouldn't be obvious immediately but would create serious consequences months later. By then, she'd have ensured all evidence pointed to me as the responsible party. I quietly built alternative, completely legal versions of each campaign. I launched these clean versions while creating a paper trail showing Genevieve's explicit push for the problematic approaches. I saved emails where she insisted on pushing boundaries and being aggressive. I noted each time she removed protective measures or compliance steps I'd included. "We don't need all these disclaimers," she'd say, deleting sections of my work. "They dilute the message." I'd save both versions. When I fell ill with COVID, I worried my careful planning would unravel. I was bedridden, struggling to breathe, let alone work. But as days passed and my fever raged, I realized Genevieve might see my illness as an opportunity. With me absent, she could claim complete ownership of the successful campaigns while positioning me to take the fall when regulators eventually noticed the issues. I was right. 2 weeks into my illness, colleagues started acting strange during our video calls. Messages went unanswered. Projects were rerouted without explanation. Then came that middle-of-the-night call. As I lay in bed after hanging up, I felt an odd sense of peace despite my illness. I had prepared for this moment meticulously. Genevieve thought she was cutting me loose before I became a liability. In reality, she was walking into a trap of her own making. The next morning, between coughing fits, I sent 3 emails. The first went to our internal compliance team, expressing concerns about certain directives I'd received regarding the 3 major campaigns. The second went to the board of directors, detailing my contributions and attaching documentation of Genevieve's instructions to circumvent regulations. The third went to my personal lawyer, outlining potential wrongful termination and documenting the systematic credit theft I'd experienced. Then I waited, focusing on recovering my health. The COVID symptoms gradually subsided, leaving me weak but clear-headed. For days, silence from the company. I wondered if my evidence had been dismissed, if Genevieve's influence was too strong. A week after my firing, my phone rang. It was Preston, the head of the board. "Leonora, we need to talk." His voice was grave. My heart raced. Had my plan backfired? "We've reviewed your documentation," he continued, "and we've spoken with the clients directly. There are discrepancies between what we've been told and what actually happened." I said nothing, letting silence do the work. "The board has called an emergency meeting tomorrow. We'd like you to attend." I took a deep breath. I'm still recovering from COVID, Preston. The illness Genevieve knew about when she fired me at nearly 3 in the morning. A heavy sigh from his end. "Yes, that's part of what we need to discuss. Can you join virtually?" "I'll be there." That night, I barely slept. Not from anxiety, but from anticipation. Years of being overlooked, of having my work stolen, of being positioned as expendable. It was all coming to a head. The next morning, I logged into the video call 10 minutes early. One by one, serious faces populated my screen. Genevieve joined last, her expression confident until she saw me. "What is this?" she demanded. "Why is she here?" Preston cleared his throat. "Genevieve, please. We have serious matters to discuss." For the next hour, I watched as my careful documentation was presented. Emails where Genevieve explicitly pushed for questionable tactics. Recordings of meetings where she dismissed compliance concerns. Side-by-side comparisons of what she'd presented to the board versus what had actually been implemented. Most damning were the testimonials from clients, confirming I had been the creative force behind the campaigns, not Genevieve. Her face went from confident to confused to panicked as the evidence mounted. "This is ridiculous," she finally sputtered. "She's manipulating you. I've given 15 years to this company." Preston's expression remained stone cold. "And in those 15 years, how many others' work have you claimed as your own, Genevieve?" The question hung in the air. Genevieve's eyes darted around the screen, seeking allies and finding none. "We'll need your resignation by end of day," Preston continued. "The legal team will be in touch regarding the client complaints." "You can't do this," she whispered, but the fight had left her voice. After she disconnected, Preston turned to me. "Leonora, on behalf of the board, I want to apologize. We failed in our oversight. We should have seen what was happening." I nodded, keeping my expression neutral despite the victory surging through me. "We'd like to offer you Genevieve's position, effective immediately. Your work has been exceptional, and your integrity in implementing compliant campaigns despite pressure speaks volumes." The offer was everything I'd worked toward: recognition, power, vindication. But as I opened my mouth to accept, I hesitated. This was the moment I should feel triumph. Yet something felt incomplete. The company that had allowed this to happen for years was suddenly sorry, only after they feared legal repercussions. "I appreciate the offer, Preston," I said carefully, "but I need time to consider it. My priorities have shifted during my illness." His surprise was visible. "Of course. Take the time you need. The offer stands." After the call ended, I sat in silence, processing. The revenge I'd orchestrated had worked perfectly. Genevieve was exposed and removed. I was offered her position, yet I felt hollow. Was becoming the next Genevieve really what I wanted? Or was there something more important than climbing a corporate ladder built on taking credit for others' work? My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. "How did it go, honey?" I looked at her message, thinking about how close I'd come to losing her, how the company's health insurance had saved her life, how precious time truly was. That's when I realized the best revenge wouldn't be taking Genevieve's job. It would be creating something entirely new, something that would make both Genevieve and the company irrelevant. I picked up my phone and called Preston back, but not to accept his offer. I had something much bigger in mind. "Preston," I said when he answered, "I've made my decision. But first, Let me tell you about an idea I've been developing. My plan wasn't just about justice for myself, it was about transforming an industry built on stealing credit and crushing creativity. I'm declining your offer, I told Preston. His sharp intake of breath was audible through the phone. But I have a different proposition. Leonora, I understand you're upset, but this position comes with substantial— I don't want Genevieve's job, I interrupted. I want to change how this entire industry works. Over the next hour, I outlined my vision. A new agency model built on transparent attribution, fair compensation tied directly to revenue generation, and collaborative leadership. No more stolen ideas. No more hidden contributions. Our industry talks about innovation while clinging to a hierarchy designed in the 1950s, I explained. Clients are tired of paying premium rates for work done by underpaid juniors while executives take credit. Preston remained silent as I detailed my proposal. I would stay only if the board agreed to pilot my new division, one operating under completely different rules. Each team member would receive clear credit for their contributions, and compensation would be directly tied to the success of their work. You're essentially asking us to cannibalize our own business model, Preston finally said. I'm asking you to evolve before someone else makes you obsolete. The silence stretched until Preston sighed. Present it to the full board next week. I can't promise anything. That's all I ask. For the next 7 days, I poured my recovering energy into my presentation. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about creating something meaningful from the ashes of betrayal. The board meeting arrived. 12 stern faces watched as I outlined my vision, complete with financial projections showing how transparency could actually increase profitability by improving talent retention and client trust. Miss Devereaux, said Imani, the oldest board member, while intriguing, your proposal undermines decades of established practice. With respect, I countered, those established practices are why we lose our best talent every 18 months. It's why clients grow suspicious of our billing. It's why Genevieve could steal credit for years without anyone noticing. That last point landed hard. Several board members shifted uncomfortably. Give me 6 months to prove this model works? I pressed. A small team, 3 clients, complete autonomy. If I fail, you've lost little. If I succeed, you'll be positioned as industry pioneers. The debate lasted hours. Finally, Preston called for a vote. 7-5 in favor of my proposal. A narrow victory, but enough. Congratulations, Leonora, Preston said afterward. You have your division. Don't make us regret this. I smiled. I won't. This was my true revenge beginning to take shape. Not destroying Genevieve, but making her irrelevant. Creating something she could never have built because she was too busy stealing instead of innovating. Within weeks, I assembled a team of 5 people, all talented individuals who had left the industry disillusioned after experiences similar to mine. Together, we developed our operating principles and target client list. Our first prospective client was Delia, marketing director at a mid-sized tech company. She'd worked with traditional agencies for years and was notoriously demanding. Your model sounds idealistic, she said during our pitch, skepticism evident. But this industry runs on relationships and executive oversight. How can junior people possibly deliver without strict management? That assumption is exactly why agencies waste your money, I explained. The junior people already do the work. We're just removing the unnecessary layers that take credit and drive up costs. She leaned forward. Prove it. I'll give you our smallest product line. Show me results in 3 months. We accepted the challenge. Every team member took ownership of specific elements, their names clearly attached to their contributions. We established transparent pricing that showed exactly what each component cost and who was doing the work. Our first campaign launched 6 weeks later. The results were immediate. Engagement metrics 40% above Delia's targets. 2 weeks after that, she called, I need to meet. Today. My stomach tightened. Had something gone wrong? Had our experiment failed already? That afternoon, I sat across from Delia, trying to read her expression. I showed your model and results to my CEO, she began slowly. He had questions. I'm happy to address any concerns, I offered, preparing for criticism. His main question was, "Can you handle our entire brand portfolio?" I blinked, processing her words. "Your entire portfolio?" She nodded. "Your team delivered better results with half the budget of our main agency. More importantly, I always know exactly who's working on what and why decisions are made. No more mysterious charges or executives taking credit for junior work." This was it, our first major validation. And not just a client, but a significant one whose business would establish our division as viable. "We'd need to grow our team," I said, mind racing. "But yes, we can handle it." Delia smiled. "Good, because I've already recommended you to 2 other companies. They'll be calling this week." News travels fast in our industry. Within 2 months, we had 7 clients. By month 4, we'd grown to 15 team members. Our transparent model was resonating with clients tired of traditional agency games. The original board members who had voted against me watched in stunned silence as our division's revenue grew. Preston, to his credit, became our strongest advocate. "This is the future," he declared during a company-wide meeting, as I presented our division's results. "Leonora has shown us a better way forward." Seeing my name and contribution acknowledged publicly felt like water after years in the desert, but the true satisfaction came from watching my team receive the same recognition. Then came the industry conference, the same one where Genevieve had accepted an award for my work a year earlier. Our division was nominated for innovation in business practices. As I prepared my acceptance speech, ever optimistic, my assistant rushed in. "Leonora, you need to see this." She handed me her phone. On screen was an announcement. Genevieve had launched her own agency, claiming to pioneer a revolutionary, transparent model of credit and compensation. My blood boiled. Even now, she was stealing my ideas. I scrolled further, reading the details of her announcement. Her version was a pale imitation, surface-level transparency with the same old power structures beneath. She didn't understand the fundamental principles that made our model work because she'd never created anything herself. "Should we respond?" my assistant asked. I considered it for a moment, then handed back her phone. "No, the market will sort this out." That evening at the awards ceremony, I felt a familiar tension as they announced the innovation category. The spotlight landed on our table as they called our name. Standing at the podium, looking out at the industry that had nearly broken me, I felt a strange calm. "This award belongs to every person whose ideas were stolen," I began. "Every creative who watched someone else take credit for their work. Every junior who was told to wait their turn while their contributions powered someone else's promotion." The room grew uncomfortably quiet. Our model works not because it's noble, but because it's honest. Talent flows to places where it's valued. Clients stay where they trust the process. It's simply better business. I spotted Genevieve in the crowd, her expression unreadable. To those attempting to copy our approach, transparency isn't a marketing tactic. It's a complete reinvention of how we work, reward, and create. You can't fake it. Our eyes met briefly across the room. She looked away first. After the ceremony, an industry reporter cornered me. "Rumor has it, Genevieve Weston started her company using your ideas again. Care to comment?" I smiled. "I'm focused on building something new, not reliving the past." "So you won't address her claims that she developed this model years ago but wasn't allowed to implement it at your former company?" I nearly laughed. The beautiful thing about our model is that every idea has clear documentation of its origin. The truth is easily verified. The reporter raised an eyebrow. "Meaning?" "Meaning I wish her well, but authenticity matters. Clients can tell the difference." 6 months later, that prediction proved accurate. Genevieve's agency struggled to retain both clients and talent. Without the ability to take credit for others' work, her own capabilities were exposed as mediocre. 3 major clients left her within weeks of each other, citing execution issues. Meanwhile, our division had grown so successful that the board voted to transition the entire company to our model. The old guard resisted, of course. 2 executives resigned rather than operate with transparency. We wished them well and continued growing. 1 year after that midnight firing, I received an email that stopped me cold. "We should talk, G." Genevieve wanted a meeting. Against my team's advice, I agreed to coffee at a neutral location. She looked different, the polished exterior somewhat faded, her confidence dimmed. We ordered our drinks in awkward silence. "Your model is winning," she finally said, staring into her cup. "My agency is losing clients every month." I waited, letting her fill the silence. "I thought I could replicate what you built, but it's not working." She looked up. "I need your help." The audacity was breathtaking. After years of stealing my work, after firing me while I was seriously ill, she wanted my help? "Why would I do that?" I asked simply. "Because you're better than me," she admitted, the words clearly painful. "Not just creatively. You built something I can't figure out how to copy." I studied her face, searching for manipulation. I found only desperation. "You never understood what makes the model work?" I said. "It's not about the structure or the compensation formulas. It's about actually valuing people's contributions instead of seeing them as stepping stones for your advancement." She winced. "I can learn." "Can you? After 15 years of taking credit for others' work?" She had no answer for that. "Here's what I can offer," I said finally. "Not a partnership or collaboration, but advice. Start over. Close your agency. Take time to create something, anything, that's truly yours. Experience what it's like to build rather than take. Then, maybe, you'll understand why our model works." "That's your help? Telling me to quit?" "That's my honesty. Something you never gave me." She left shortly after, angry and humiliated. I felt no satisfaction watching her go, just a quiet certainty that I'd broken free from her influence entirely. 3 years have passed since that night Genevieve fired me. Our model has been adopted by a dozen other agencies. The industry publications that once celebrated her now feature case studies about our approach. I've been asked to speak at business schools about ethical leadership and innovation. Last month, I received a package. Inside was a small, independent magazine featuring a modest ad campaign for a local business. The creative director, Genevieve Weston. The work wasn't groundbreaking, but it was solid, authentic, and undeniably hers. Attached was a note. "You were right. I'm starting over. Building, not taking. Thank you." I keep that note in my desk drawer, not as a trophy, but as a reminder of the journey, from fevered and fired to founding a movement that changed an industry. The most powerful revenge isn't destruction, it's creation. It's building something so necessary that it makes the old ways obsolete. It's transforming your pain into progress that helps others avoid the same fate. Genevieve took my job, my credit, and nearly my health. In return, I created a new way of working that made her entire approach irrelevant. I didn't need to destroy her. I simply needed to build something better. She fired me at my lowest moment, thinking she was cutting me loose before I became a liability. Instead, she freed me to create something she could never have imagined, a system where people like her can no longer thrive by taking credit for others' brilliance. That's the sweetest revenge of all, using their betrayal as fuel to build something that ensures no one can ever do to others what they did to you. If you've ever had your work stolen or your contributions ignored, remember this. Your ideas have power, even when others try to claim them. Document everything. Build allies who see your value. And when the moment comes, whether through betrayal or opportunity, be ready to create something entirely new. Sometimes getting fired is just the universe telling you it's time to light your own path forward. If this story resonated with you, please take a moment to like and subscribe. Your support helps us share more stories of resilience and transformation. And leave a comment below if you've ever had to rebuild after betrayal. I read every response and draw strength from this community's experiences. Remember, the best revenge isn't getting even, it's getting better. Thanks for staying with me until the end.